Brian Jacobs's brand new Tesla was firebombed by men in counterfeit uniforms, just for defying a petty HOA rule. Behind the scheme lurked Chairman Ken Myers, a power-hungry bully who weaponized fake officers to silence anyone who challenged him. But the garage they torched secretly belonged to FBI Director Elizabeth Conrad, and her arrival flipped the script overnight. Discover how real badges crushed the imposters, and why justice roared back louder than the flames themselves. The last of the sunset burned orange behind the pines as Ryan Jacobs coasted up the gentle hill of Longview Ridge. He eased his brand-new, candy-red Tesla Model Y into Garage 12, the electric motor humming like a distant storm, settling after rain. Beside him in the passenger seat, his father James, a retired Marine Master Sergeant with silver hair and a stubborn limp, exhaled a satisfied breath. For the first time in years, the two of them felt ahead of life instead of chasing it. Across the cul-de-sac, porch lights winked on. Neighbors in smart athleisure waved politely until Ken Myers emerged. Ken was the freshly elected chairman of the Homeowners Association, a man whose handshake clamped like a vice and whose smile never quite reached his eyes. He was famous on the block for quoting bylaws the way others quoted baseball stats. Tonight, though, he wore a deeper scowl. A glossy electric vehicle sat gleaming where he preferred uniform rows of beige SUVs. "Evening, Mr. Jacobs," Ken called, voice flat. "We have guidelines about battery hazards in shared structures. I'm sure you read Section 5, Subrule C." Before Ryan could respond, three men strode up behind Ken, each wearing imitation police blues, patches from an online surplus store, plastic nameplates, and matching black baseball caps emblazoned Ridge Security Patrol. Their commander narrative swagger said "cop," but the crooked stitching on their badges said otherwise. Troy Dixon, the unofficial ringleader, flicked his flashlight across the Tesla's hood as though searching for contraband. Blake Rourke, broad-shouldered and impatient, shifted his weight like he expected applause. Stan Butch Miller, younger and eager-eyed, filmed everything on his phone for the HOA's records. Ken gestured toward the car as if unveiling evidence. "These lithium packs can ignite without warning," he announced to the gathering cluster of neighbors. "Our insurance carrier won't cover spontaneous fires." The statement hung in the air like a bad smell. Ryan felt heat rise in his neck. Ignite? The Model Y was rated among the safest vehicles on American roads. But the fake officers stepped closer, boots clicking. "Failure to relocate constitutes a Level 3 violation," Troy recited, tapping a homemade citation pad. "Fines start at $500 per day. Towing is next." Around them, porch conversations fell silent. Emily Harris, who coached the local math team, mouthed, "Are they for real?" Mr. Patel, an accountant across the street, glanced from the faux badges to Ken's inflated posture and ushered his young daughter indoors. A hush wrapped the street, broken only by crickets and the faint crackle of a backyard fire pit down the block. Ryan forced a polite smile. "My car meets all state and federal safety standards. I'm happy to show documentation." Ken waved him off. "Standards change. Community comes first." James stepped forward, cane planted firmly. Years in uniform taught him to read true authority. These men didn't have it. "Son," he murmured to Ryan, "they're bluffing, but bullies love an audience." Ryan met his father's steady gaze, drew a breath, and addressed Ken so everyone could hear. "Official law enforcement deals in facts, Mr. Myers, not hobby costumes." Troy's eyes narrowed. Blake cracked his knuckles. Yet Ryan held his stance. No shouting, just firm conviction. In that instant, neighbors witnessed a fault line. On one side, everyday families wanting peace. On the other, self-appointed enforcers hungry for control. Ken broke the silence by clearing his throat and adopting a conciliatory tone that fooled no one. "There's a welcome meeting in the clubhouse tomorrow at 7. Attendance is mandatory for clarification." With a curt nod, he spun on his heel. The trio of wannabe officers fell in behind him, shoulders squared, as though retreating from a battlefield they planned to re-enter better armed. As their footsteps faded, the porch lights seemed dimmer, the evening cooler. Ryan rested a hand on the warm metal of the Tesla's fender, less for the car and more for grounding himself. Somewhere inside, sparked by condescension and counterfeit authority, anger ignited. It wasn't the reckless kind that blinds. It was a focused ember, quiet and hot, promising that tomorrow's clarification would belong to him. And so the stage was set. A pristine neighborhood, a veteran's son, and a cabal of self-styled guardians of the status quo. Every viewer feels it. The first twist of outrage, when small-time power games threaten honest people simply living their lives. Moonlight gave Longview Ridge a calm, silver glow, but dread crackled beneath the quiet. In the cul-de-sac, 3 figures in the same makeshift uniforms crept across trimmed grass toward the community garage. Troy Dixon hefted a red jerry can, his phone already recording. Blake Rourke carried a pry bar. Stan Butch Miller whispered the HOA bylaws as if they were an arrest warrant. Their goal was simple: crush Ryan's defiance before sunrise and post the footage as a warning to anyone else who questioned Ken Myers's authority. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed above 12 parking bays. The Tesla sat in stall 12, gleaming even in the dim glow. Troy sliced the security pad with bolt cutters, and Blake rolled the door halfway, letting in a slice of cold night air. The smell of gasoline spread fast, sharp, metallic, unmistakable. They splashed the hood, the roof, the charging port, talking in low voices about teaching a lesson. Stan's camera lens trembled with a mix of excitement and nerves. The sound of shattering glass snapped Ryan awake in the townhouse next door. An alarm began to wail, first distant, then stabbing. Ryan bolted downstairs, his father James right behind him, Kane forgotten. As they burst into the alley, orange light pulsed against the walls. A whoosh followed, loud and deep, as vapors ignited. Flames clawed up the Tesla's sides, swallowing the sleek lines in seconds, licking at roof panels above. Heat slammed into Ryan like a wall. He stumbled back, shielding James with his arms. Acrid smoke curled around them, carrying the bite of burnt rubber and electronics. Sparks popped. Side windows burst, scattering glass across concrete like frozen raindrops. Through the haze, Ryan caught a glimpse of Troy's silhouette, phone still raised, before the 3 imposters vanished into the shadows. Sirens converged, red strobes dancing across stucco. Firefighters wrestled hoses into place, water thundering against the blaze. Ryan tried to reach the car, but a medic steered him away. Blistering heat had singed the skin on his forearms. James's cheek bore a reddened streak where flying debris grazed him, yet the older man kept murmuring, "We'll stand tall, son, we'll stand tall." By dawn, only a charred metal skeleton remained where dreams had rested hours earlier. Insurance officers marked evidence. Arson investigators collected fragments of melted badge plastic left on the floor. That's when Detective Laura Finch noticed a different name on the stall's deed: E. Conrad. She raised an eyebrow, made 2 quick phone calls, and within the hour confirmed the impossible. Stall 12 belonged to Director Elizabeth Conrad of the FBI, who quietly stored her restored Indian and Triumph motorcycles there while relocating headquarters archives. The news traveled faster than the smoke had risen. For Ryan, shock mixed with fragile hope. The crime was no longer just a neighborhood dispute. It was a federal matter touching one of the most powerful law enforcement officials in the country. For viewers, the gut-level pain of watching justice mocked now shifts into sharp anticipation. The stakes have exploded beyond a single family and a ruined car. An entire system of genuine authority is about to answer a brazen challenge. Morning mist still clung to Longview Ridge when a quiet convoy rolled in. 3 charcoal gray SUVs without markings, lights low, engines almost silent. From the lead vehicle stepped Director Elizabeth Conrad, tall, calm, and impeccably precise in a tailored blazer, she surveyed the cul-de-sac as if reading a classified brief written in architecture and lawn decor. Her eyes, shielded by thin-rimmed glasses, gave away nothing. Ken Myers hurried down his driveway, HOA name badge polished bright. He smoothed his sport coat, rehearsing a greeting designed to sound cooperative yet authoritative. Before he could speak, the rear doors of the second SUV opened, and two special agents in windbreakers fanned out, clipboards in hand. Elizabeth's gaze rested on Ken. "Good morning," she said evenly. "I'm here regarding last night's incident." Ken drew himself taller. "Director Conrad, welcome. We have our own security patrol and—" Elizabeth lifted a single eyebrow. "Security patrol? Are you referring to the individuals wearing replica police uniforms?" Ken's rehearsed smile faltered. "They, assist with neighborhood compliance." Elizabeth's voice remained conversational, yet every syllable landed like a stamp on official parchment. "Federal law is clear on impersonation. Perhaps you can clarify one point for me. Who supplied those uniforms?" Silence stretched. Neighbors lingered behind curtains, sensing a shift in gravity. When Ken failed to answer, Elizabeth turned to her team. "Begin collection." Agents moved swiftly. One launched a compact drone that rose above rooflines with a soft whir. Another requested door cam access from residents, their badges reflecting crisp morning sun. Inside the clubhouse, makeshift evidence tables filled quickly. DVR drives, cell phone backups, even hardware store receipts for the fake patches. By mid-afternoon, an analyst traced a bulk order of replica badges to Blake Rourke's debit card. A second agent overlaid time-stamped drone footage with the imposter's route of escape. Each link snapped into the chain like engineered steel. Late that evening, Ryan Jacobs arrived for an interview. His forearms were wrapped in fresh gauze, but the tight lines of exhaustion on his face softened when he saw the wall of monitors. Every screen a confirmation that real professionals were on the case. Elizabeth greeted him with a handshake, both firm and considerate. "Mr. Jacobs, your statement helped us map the timeline. We'll handle it from here." Ryan managed a smile that reached his tired eyes. For the first time since the fireball shattered his life, reassurance outweighed anger. Beyond the glass doors, he spotted his father talking quietly with an agent who had once served in the Marines. Camaraderie flickered like a campfire at dusk. Down the hall, an assistant delivered a briefing folder to Elizabeth. She scanned the pages, bank ledgers, location pings, uniform invoices, and closed it with decisive calm. Her motivation was unmistakable. An attack on her property and the Bureau's integrity demanded a response as precise as it was public. She turned to her lead agent. "We move before sunrise. Formal charges, impersonation of federal officers, arson of a federal leasehold, obstruction." Word spread quietly through Longview Ridge. Porch lights glowed later than usual, neighbors speaking in hushed tones about drones and evidence tags. Yet beneath the community's nervous buzz breathed something different. Relief. Rules were returning, but this time enforced by those who had earned the badge, not bought it online. Ryan stepped outside into crisp night air. The garage where his Tesla once sat was cordoned off, but the yellow tape no longer looked like a barrier. It felt like a promise. Justice was not merely approaching. It had already staked its claim, wearing no costume, answering to no HOA bylaw. For everyone watching, hope took the unmistakable shape of expertise, discipline, and quiet resolve. 7 days after the fire, Longview Ridge awoke not to birdsong, but to the unmistakable swirl of red and blue lights cutting through early morning fog. A black van pulled up in front of Ken Myers's brick colonial. Before sunrise, news helicopters circled above, cameras capturing what felt like a turning point. Federal marshals stepped in, not loud, not aggressive, just precise. Calm voices issued commands, wrists were cuffed without drama. And Ken? His polished HOA badge looked out of place as he was led down his manicured walkway, jaw tight, future uncertain. The three faux officers, Blake, Jeremy, and Nolan, were picked up shortly after. Charges were read: impersonating federal officers, interstate conspiracy to commit arson, obstruction of a federal investigation. What had started as neighborhood pettiness had escalated into a full-blown federal case. Across social media, the footage exploded. Clips of the arrests, spliced with body cam angles, and news anchors' commentary were everywhere. Hashtags surged, #fake authority falls, justice at Longview, #stand with Ryan. It wasn't just entertainment, it was vindication. Viewers around the country saw proof that arrogance in uniform, no matter how fake, could still be held to account. By week's end, the HOA board had resigned en masse. Several of them were named in civil suits for negligence, harassment, and conspiracy to intimidate homeowners. Insurance claims were frozen. Lawyers representing Longview Ridge residents demanded a full audit of the HOA's finances, and settlements from the lawsuits would soon cover the Jacobs family's medical costs, property losses, and more. But the story didn't end with punishment. It turned towards something far more powerful. On the scorched concrete where the garage once stood, a gathering formed beneath soft morning light. Ryan stood beside his father, both still healing, but upright, unbroken. From the back of an SUV, Director Elizabeth Conrad stepped out once more, carrying a slim metallic case. "You stood your ground," she said simply. "That's harder than it looks, and it matters more than people realize." She pressed a fob into Ryan's hand. Behind them, a transport trailer rolled back its ramp. Sitting at the top was a gleaming white Tesla Model S Plaid, showroom perfect. Its smooth lines and polished chrome caught the light like armor. "This one's yours," Elizabeth said. "Consider it a thank you from those of us who wear the real badge." The small crowd clapped, but it was Ryan's father who moved first. The aging Marine, still bandaged across one hand, stepped forward and gently patted the hood. "Let's see what this one can do." The car's lights blinked to life. A gentle hum rose from beneath as the Plaid powered on. Silent, confident, a new beginning embodied in machinery. What began as a story of control, fear, and intimidation ended not just in justice, but in something better: inspiration. It reminded everyone watching that courage doesn't always come with medals or speeches. Sometimes it's just refusing to back down when everything in you wants to. And when that happens, the world, just sometimes, rewards it in ways no one expects. For Ryan and his father, the road ahead wasn't just open, it was wide, quiet, and electric. And for the audience, the message rang clear: real power doesn't threaten, it protects. And when you stand against injustice, you're never truly standing alone.